Up first will be Ron Nixon, Global Investigations Editor for the Associated Press. Our first News Leader of the Year was nominated in a heartfelt letter signed by 24 members of his reporting team. Ron had an instant impact as our top editor during an unthinkably challenging time, his reporters wrote. Since taking over last March, he has inspired, increased diversity, and most importantly, led his global team to hold those in power accountable. Martha Mendoza, AP investigative reporter, submitted Ron's nomination on behalf of the team, and she will lead today's conversation. But before we shift to Ron and Martha, we have a surprise for Ron from his team.
Ron has been a transformative leader for our team.
Ron made us a team where there wasn't one before.
Your strong and steady leadership and your vision has allowed this team to produce extraordinary journalism over the last year, during a pandemic, no less.
Ron is a natural leader. He motivates us, he pushes us, and he has our back.
You have the biggest heart. You look out for your reporters, you look out for your team. You've got our backs at all times.
He's been a wealth of information that challenges me to go deeper into each story, overall making me a better journalist.
Ron Nixon possesses qualities that every editor should aspire to: passion, dedication, integrity, but also empathy.
Ron Nixon is an awesome editor and he's a super supportive boss, but more than anything, he is an amazing human being.
He came in on day one, and rather than say we needed to pick our battles or pick our spots to compete against the best in the business, he really reset our level of ambition.
He's brought vision, organization, creativity to our team. He's helped improve the camaraderie and communication.
Ron has elevated all of our work throughout the AP.
He's just smart and resourceful. He goes out of his way to make my job easier.
Ron is a fierce warrior in the battlefield of journalism, but he's also a caring friend, and whenever the fight is over, he calls to lend a caring hand.
I worked in a lot of newsrooms, I worked for a lot of editors, and Ron Nixon, #1.
We all know we're lucky to work with you. Now the rest of the world knows it too. Thanks for everything you do.
Congratulations, Ron. It's an honor to have you as an editor, a mentor, and a friend, and you are so deserving of this award.
Ron, you are the best editor. You care about us, you care about the journalism, you fight for it. We are so lucky, and I'm so proud of you.
Thanks, Ron.
I cannot wait to see what kind of trouble we get into next.
It's such a richly deserved honor.
There are a lot of outstanding news leaders out there, but this would have been an easy choice for the judges. Congratulations, Ron, not just for winning this honor, but being the first to win it. To you.
Wow.
Wow.
With that, Martha, we're over to you.
Wonderful. It's so fun to see everybody and to be doing this. So diving in, Ron, members of our investigative team, we do describe you as transformational, as positive and empowering and inspiring. And I thought because there's news leaders on this call, maybe you could just share some very specific actions you incorporate into your days that you hope has that impact on us.
Well, I mean, first of all, let me say, thank you guys for that. That was truly a shock and a surprise. And wow, and Justin in a tux. I mean, that was like that. So yeah, I mean, that was just, I really, really appreciate this. And also thank you, NLA, for the award. Gotta say, and so, but to answer your question, Martha, I don't look for things like, hey, I need to be inspirational or I need to be transformative. I just try to do things that I think need to be done. And so when I came in, there were a number of things that I thought like, well, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do that. As some of you said in the film, I felt like we needed to be more of a team. I felt like there were like several teams of investigative reporters at AP, but not a team. And so I felt like that was the first thing that we really needed to do, because I know when I was just joined, I never really talked to other people who were part of the team. Reese Dunklin, for instance, never really talked to Reese until I just called him up one day. So I felt like that was the first thing was, and so, as you remember through things like we did the baby picture thing, which is now like, that's like how you get into the investigative team. Like you have to show a baby picture, like that that's like the criteria. Or the fact that sometimes we just have calls where we just celebrate a member like Jason Deering when his book came out. Um, so, in terms of being transformative, again, it was just like, what do we need to succeed as an investigative team and be competitive in this super competitive environment? Because, it's no longer just like the Times or Post or Wall Street Journal. We've got ProPublica, we've got BuzzFeed, we've got like all of these other, things that didn't exist when you and I started as journalists. And so I just thought, what are the things that we need in order to be competitive here? What are the things that we need, bringing over a video journalist to be part of the team? Like we never had that before, right? Because I wanted someone to think about, video not as this thing, but as a critical part of what we do. Really come really reaching out to various other parts of the AP and making people feel like they were a part of what we do, and we are not some team that stands off to the side that we occasionally drop something, every 30 days or what have you. So creating the investigative correspondence program and bringing in other people to make them feel like they're part of the team. So, and as you guys all mentioned, increasing the diversity on the team was a critical part of what I thought we needed to do.
So how did you do that? And what do you look for when you're trying to bring someone onto our team? What traits are you looking for in journalists?
Right. So the thing that I look for most, and this sounds, I guess, is ambition. Wanting to do those bigger stories, wanting to take on these things, and not like, as Michael B. Sicker saying, picking our spots, because like, what does that even mean to like pick our spots? Like our spot is everything. I mean, we work for a global news organization. We should be able to go after anything we want to go after. So that was it. I want people to be ambitious in what they do in terms of journalists. Want people to be self-starters. I don't want to have to like just constantly have to motivate people and motivate people and motivate. Yes, there's sometimes you do, but I want people to largely be self-starters, because my goal is to take away everything that you have as a distraction, so you only focus on the journalism. Like, I don't want people worried about money. I don't want people worried about resources. I only want people worried about what is the next project that I'm working on. That's it. That's all I want you to work on. I'm the wall. I'll protect you from all the other stuff that's out there. So I get the, as pass on the bad source, all those people who are angry, pass them on to me. I will deal with them. Not my favorite thing to do, but I don't want you or your teammates dealing with that. And so the other thing I look for are, people. I can teach you certain things, right? But I can't teach drive. I can't teach, the willingness to be able to dive in and just keep going day after day, even when it's sometimes you feel like you can't go any further. Or, like project that we had today, the reporter worked on that for a decade, right? Before I was even at AP, even thought about AP. But so people like that, like, because I can teach you, I can help you with the writing, right? I can help you with a lot of things, but I can't teach that inner drive. That's something that has to come from within.
But having a whole bunch of people who are all very driven and ambitious, gathering us all together in one place, that could be very complicated, I would think. And I'm wondering, do you try to have us move in one direction, or how do you kind of manage the fact that when you put all these ambitious, motivated people who want to dig all together, I guess I should just say, how do you manage that challenge that you have all these people?
Well, so, and I know we're going to talk about my time in the military a bit later, but, I read this book a couple of years ago. It's by this former Navy captain called It's Your Ship. And, he took over the worst submarine in the Navy and turned it around. And the way that he did that was not by this sort of, Patton-esque, MacArthur-esque leadership of barking orders at people and saying, do this and do that, or, there's old school editors where, follow me through the, what I wanted was buy-in. I wanted people to believe that this is your team and its success or failure is going to depend on you, not me. Like, I'm going to give you what you need, but the ultimate success or failure of this team has to come from the team itself. And people have to believe that, we are the best at what we do, and so that's how you get people to buy into the concept of this team without really, making it this rah-rah thing of like, oh, let's join hands and, do this, but just like, this is your team. What do you think we need to do? Right. And then set the ambitions, set the level, set the standards for this is what an AP investigation is supposed to be, right? And then have everybody buy into that and believe that this is what we do, this is how we proceed as a team, and that we push each other to keep from falling below those standards.
Big shortfall, and you heard it from us early on, that kept us from even thinking really big a lot of the time was money, right? Like there's a saying, you don't spell cheap without AP, and we really do budget our investigations. And you kind of said, stop thinking about that, people. I'm going to get outside funding.
Right.
And you've done it. But I'm wondering, how do you do that, especially for the other news leaders on this call who might want to do that as well? How do you sell what we do to somebody? How do you convince somebody they want to invest in our investigative work?
All right. Well, the first thing is I never sleep. So that's
sorry.
That helps, right? Well, again, I think the work is the thing that sells the team, right? When you look at the work, you look at something like palm oil, right? Or you look at the thing that you and Juliet did with Frontline on the medical supply chain crisis as a result of the pandemic, right? But on its own, like those things, if we don't tell people what they are, right? And I know that there's always been this thing, particularly because AP and what it is a news cooperative, of not really promoting yourself. I take the total opposite thing of really promoting what we do, right? Because I want people to know the kind of work that we do. And I want people to know that we have this incredible team that produces this incredible work. And I think is among the best in, and so this is what I push. And so, but more than anything, I sell the members of the team, people like yourself, that this is what you're getting to produce this incredible journalism. These people are among the best of the best. And so when you see our work, that in of itself, I think is what drives funders to say that, listen, this is something I want to support. This is something that I want to be a part of. and it's just establishing relationships with them, and also, just having conversations, saying that, the things that you're interested in, we're also interested in. It doesn't drive our coverage, but that it is something that we sort of mutually agree that are critical issues that need to be covered.
Okay. Okay, so that's getting the funding, but you're also making these partnerships that kind of bring our reporting to a different audience. And I'm wondering why that's important to you.
Well, I think, again, because, I think AP is well known, but for certain things, right? Like, to be perfectly honest, like, for years, I thought of AP as like 500-600 word stories that, went out, and that was pretty much it. I know that the piece that the Bridget Nogon Reed that you and several other people won the Pulitzer for in 2000, I knew about that, and I knew about, but for the most part, I think that, that's what I thought about, like, P. But, again, it's trying to make sure that we have the work that is clear, that it has impact, that, but these partnerships get us into areas that we have, like, we're not strong in documentary filmmaking, right? Like, yes, we have AP Productions and we are trying to expand in that area, but I've been watching Frontline since the 80s. And I mean, like, who is better in investigative documentary filmmaking than Frontline? Or, we team up with Reveal on something. I mean, they have just really cornered the market in terms of investigative podcast, or some of the other partnerships that we have. So I'm trying to get, either the partnerships are about resources that we don't have that I can bolster our internal resources with, or getting us into areas that put the AP brand in front of people who may not be familiar with it. So, if you're a PBS, viewer, you may have seen AP stuff, but you really didn't know AP in the way that you saw it with the child migrant story, or the supply chain story.
Yeah, I recall you telling us all at some meeting, stop saying that we're punching above our weight, like, we're there.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Associated Press has one of the largest news staffs in the world, right? How are you punching above your weight, right? Like, I mean, it's the one thing that I wanted to, like, bring, and I don't want to, take total credit for this, but I think that, we have to own who we are, right? And again, I think a lot of this is legacy AP, that it has traditionally, we provide stuff to our clients, right? We don't outshine our clients. And I think that's fine, but it doesn't mean that you, like, downplay your work, because that's why your clients buy this, because they work. And, we produce great journalism that we want people to see, and you have to talk about it. You have to let people know that this is what you do. So no, we're not punching above our weight. We're not scrappy. I mean, our investigative team is bigger than most people's newsrooms. So, that's not scrappy. That's like total mainstream, and in some places bigger than just about most people's investigative teams.
Yeah. Okay, I want to shift gears because I want to hear about how music plays a role in your life, and really, like, how many instruments do you play? What have been the names of your bands? When can we see you perform? And then, are there themes that carry from that music into your role as a news leader?
Okay, so at one point, I was I was music major in college, so I was not a journalism major. At one point I could play about 21 different instruments. And I learned to play them all because when I would want to record or do something, nobody was around, or it'd be like some crazy, ridiculous time in the morning. So I just learned how to play the instrument myself and just did it. And it's somewhat like Prince or, Stevie Wonder or others who play multiple instruments. And so, yeah, I've had some really strange bands. I played in a band called a punk band called Bad Fish, because with punk stuff, it's got to be like something nasty, right? It can't be like blooming flowers. It's got to be like something nasty, right? But I also played in a band called Maximum Funk. There's another band called Sequence Funk. I don't know why it was like sequence, but it was just like, I played in a band called the Rude Boys, and so I just I played in a country and Western band. I was a session musician for country and Western stuff. I just love music. I don't care what type of music it is. In terms of seeing me perform, I think the last time I performed was early 2000s. I was in Burundi and got to share a stage with one of their biggest stars there, a guy named Steven Sono, but that was like the last time I played. In terms of how, music relates to this, it's about the discipline. It's the same way that when you do an investigation and you write your first draft, right? There are holes in it, and it's not, it's not a finished product, and you have to go back and refine it and refine it and refine it and refine it. Music is the same way, right? You start with a basic riff, then you add, then you add, then you add, and then you're just like, well, I don't like this, or I don't like that, or I don't like that. And then, you put it down, you come back at it, and you refine it, and you refine it until you have a finished product. But it's that discipline to keep at it until you get it refined, that I think is, both both disciplines, music and journalism, are the same. And also, writing for me is about cadence, because one of the other big thing that you heard me say a lot is that we're going to do these big investigations, right? But we're not going to do like these hard news lead, nut graph, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, right? We're going to tell stories. Like, yeah, we're going to do hard, and we're going to hold those in power accountable, but we're going to tell stories. But writing is also about cadence. And so when I write, I hear music and I hear what it sounds like. And so when I read copy, I'm hearing what it sounds like. If it sounds choppy, then I'm like, well, we need to smooth that out. What about this word versus that word versus, this phrase? And so, we have these bulletproof sessions, which, I'm trying to sure we institutionalize this, but we go through the story, like the investigation that ran today. Last Thursday, we had a 2-hour bulletproof session of a story that we went line by line and both went through it for context, fact checking, but also cadence. What does it sound like? Does this sound like so? And I think that we have some incredible like senior editors, Jerry Schwartz and Kristen Gasley, who are like smoothing some of those things out even further. But that's where music plays. Is I hear the story, so I always print out a copy of the story, get a cup of coffee, and I read it and I listen to what it sounds like.
I love that. I absolutely love that, Ron. That is very cool. And it also having co-written with a lot of people on this team, I know that we are also thinking about those cadences as we're writing, but we're not music composers for the most part. So thank you. And on that note, I do want to congratulate you on today's story, which I think you had an impact about. It was about military weapons being stolen and used in crimes. And I think that already members of Congress are talking about it. So it's just an immediate impact. Yeah. And thank you for letting me ask you everything and anything, and turning it back over to the news leaders.
Well, I will just say before we turn it over, I got to give credit where credit is due. Like, you know, one of the news leaders on this team, Justin Pritchard, led that effort and has been doing that for over a year to get that to where it is today. You know, my role, as in a lot of this stuff, is just providing support and guidance, and then going through and talking. You know, he and I talked a lot about this. He and I and the reporters talked a lot about the story, but definitely Justin, that was his baby.
And I hope for those of you who are not on our team, you can just get a sense here of how Ron is such a strong leader for all of us. So thank you for recognizing him.